Hi everyone, I hope all of you guys are doing well. So today we are going to go into our day number 5 of our 100 days answer writing challenge. Alright, and in this day number 5 we are going to discuss something very unique, and that is how to process your thinking, how to exactly think when somewhat of a difficult question is there in front of you, a kind of a question in which you might not have much knowledge, but you can use your readings, you can use your derivative knowledge, you can use all the things that you've learned while studying that topic to be able to write a very intelligent and a good answer. So this was the question through which I will help you how to understand, how to process your thinking. I will teach you how to think, because that is something no one will ever teach you. All right. So the question is, how will you explain the medieval Indian temple sculptures represent the social life of those days? This is the first question of GS1 paper, and this kind of a question can be a little bit of a bouncer, because on the one hand you might have the knowledge of various sculptures, temple sculptures built during this medieval Indian time, but you might not know how they represented the social life. It might become a little difficult for you to answer this question in a very nice and organized and a structured way, because you have limited time. You have only time of 6 to 7 minutes, maximum 8 minutes in order to answer this question. Alright, so first of all, I will teach you how to think about these kind of questions, or for that matter any kind of questions, because in UPSC there is no scope of just knowing information, knowing knowledge. Rote learning will not help. You have to apply your knowledge. You have to learn how to apply your knowledge. So application of knowledge is going to be, application of knowledge and mind is very important. So exactly how to process your thinking around this kind of a question? Well, first of all, identify the keywords. Identify the keywords and think about them. So here the keywords are obviously medieval Indian temple sculptures and social life. Basically the question is that during the medieval Indian time, whatever the temple sculptures were built in the temples of that time, how they represented the social life in those days of India. Alright, so the keywords are these. You know, you have to answer around medieval time sculptures in temples, and you have to answer around the social life, how they represented the social life. Now, to think about that question further, you have to understand, or we have to recall some examples that can come to your mind. So first of all, you identify the keywords and then try to recall examples around those keywords. So what are the various medieval temples, medieval Indian temples that you can remember from this time? Well, the time period, if you think of it roughly, will be from around 6th, 7th century AD till 15th century AD. Okay, roughly this is the time period of medieval India, and during this time whatever temples were built, many temples, hundreds and hundreds of temples were built, but I can think of some examples, like for example North, South, East, Central India and West India. This is how I will structure or organize my thinking, by thinking in terms of different parts, major parts of India. So in North, you can think of the Shaivite temples built in Kashmir. Okay, these are some of the examples. Then in the South, you can think of the Chola temples, which were the most magnificent temples built during this time in the South India. You can also think of Vijayanagar Empire, so Vijayanagar temples. Okay, then in the east of India, you can think of the Jagannath Puri temple. Okay, which is one of the prime examples. Then in Central India, you can think of Khajuraho temples, and in the west of India, you can think of the Rajasthani Dilwara temple, or you can think of other Jain temples built during this time. So these are roughly the examples that I remember now. So first I identify the keywords, then around those keywords I remember the examples, so that it can become easier for me to be able to answer this question. The third thing I do in my mind will be cover wide aspects. What does that mean, cover wide aspects? That means that I don't want to leave out anything in this question, whatever that is possible from a wider point of view, not from, like, I don't want to go into only one temple example and just cover that. I want to cover all the different temples, all the different examples. That is going to be very, very important. So you want to try to cover all the different wider aspects of social life of the Indian people during this time. through the examples given in these. Alright. Then finally cover key points. What does that mean, cover key points? By covering key points, I mean that whatever examples you have shortlisted, from these try to remember what are the key points they provide you about the social life of India during that time. Okay, what key points these particular examples provide you on the social life of India during that time? Well, they provide some glimpses into the various things like dresses and ornaments of people. They also provide some insight into the recreational activities, what kind of recreation people used to do. What about the status of women in society? Okay, that is also shown. Then sports, there are sculptures where sports have been depicted, family life. Okay, hierarchy in the society, so class system, caste system. Okay, so all these, human experience, spirituality. So these are the various key points that I can cover while answering this question. So obviously you can't do all this rough work when you are actually appearing for the exam. What you need to do is you need to do practice like this in your free time when you are practicing for answer writing like today, so that this becomes a automatically subconscious or a conscious process that you do while you are thinking only. So whenever some kind of question like this will appear, automatically आपकी thinking इन points के आसपास होगी, उस question के context के ऊपर depend करके, and then you can easily answer the question. So this is how I would go for answering this question. This is how I will process my thinking. और एक बार इसकी प्रैक्टिस करोगे, 10 बार करोगे, 20 बार करोगे, 20 times you will do this practice. Eventually this will become a habit. This will become your second nature. This will seem like very simple. So a lot of people don't know how to do this thinking process. So that's why I'm teaching you this thinking process today. Now I want you to understand this thinking process today. Stop looking at my video right now, pause it and go ahead and try to answer this question if you have read anything about this content. If you have read anything about this content, then I want to answer this, you to answer this and come back and then compare to what I answer. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and answer this question. I'm going to answer it on a different page of paper, so it becomes very much easier for you to follow also. All right. So like I said, definition, first of all I will define, then I will give examples and I will answer the various points of the question. All right. So medieval Indian temple sculptures showcase many aspects of Indian social life in those days. Here you can add around from 17th century AD till 15th century AD. Okay. Simple, directly taken from the question itself, a sentence which opens the question. It's kind of an introduction, but it's not adding that much value. We are just saying that these sculptures showcase many aspects of Indian social life, but what are they? We will go into them now. All right. These include. So I have directly jumped into the question without going into any details. All right. Here I will make a map also. So this is the value addition. This is what I get extra 1 mark for. All right. Very rough map of India. I'm sorry if it is not perfect, but I will try. Okay. So here on the rough Indian map, I will show the various temples, provide the various examples of Indian medieval temples. Figure medieval Indian temples. All right. Chola temple, Khajuraho temples, East India Eastern India, Jagannath Puri temple, Dilwada temple and Jain temples, Kashmir, Shaivite temples. You can give examples also if you remember. Like for example, Khajuraho, there are many temples. So you can give the examples of those also if you remember them. Right now I am not remembering, so I am not going to give the example. I will keep it a little broad. Alright. And you can just mark them roughly. So this way at least, see, you will get at least a couple of marks here because you know these temples, you have some understanding of the timeline. So at least some marks you will score here. Alright, so now we will go into the details of the question itself. Class system in society. Various sculptures in Chola and Vijayanagar temples showcase differences in clothes, ornaments, and living styles of urbanites, rural people, and nobility. This shows that clear class distinctions were present in the society. Alright. See, here you are analyzing the question, you are providing an analytical understanding of the question, which really puts your question or puts your answer different from other ones. Alright. So here you have talked about the class system. You can talk about status of women in the society. Sculptures in temples of medieval India. Women are shown participating in sports, religious, music, and recreational activities. Thereby indicating of a good status in with respect to men enjoyed by them. However, patriarchy can also be patriarchal structure of society can also be observed as men have been depicted as heads of households in many sculptures. Now, obviously, while the status of women was good in the Indian society at that time, even though, so obviously, while the status of women was quite high, they enjoyed a good position in the society because they were seen participating in sports, even as wrestlers. They were seen participating in various religious activities. They were shown as musicians. Even then, obviously, it was a patriarchal society because male were dominating, the male or the men were dominating in most of the activities that were depicted in such kind of sculptures. All right. Third, you can write about then further. You have to have some examples also built in here. I have not given examples per se here. I have given Chola and Vijayanagar Empire temple examples, but particular sculpture examples I don't remember. That's why I have not put them. If you have any particular sculpture examples, you know the name of the sculpture, then put that. That will give you some good marks also. All right. Other than that, you can probably also add in this family life. Birth of a child was often depicted as a celebratory activity, event in sculptures, thereby showcasing importance of family life. In medieval Indian temple sculptures. Okay. Further, you can also write about human experience, spirituality. Spirituality was one of the major themes of such sculptures, and spirituality was part of Indian life. So you can show that also. Spirituality was key component of Indian social life during those times, as depicted in Khajuraho temple sculptures, where human experience, pursuit of human experience was also considered highly spiritual. Or you can give, for example, you can also use for example also. Instead of just directly going to the example, you can use for example also, that separates it out. All right. So like this, I have given 4 points. I have covered spirituality, class, women and family life. I think this is sufficient of an answer. If you want to go in more details, you can definitely go into more details, but this is what I can remember right now. All right. So I will end my question here. So the way you can conclude is that Indian sculptures built during the medieval times in the temples were not only pieces of art, but also depicted social, political, economic life as seen in the above examples. All right. So this way you can finish your answer. All right. So let me know what you think. This is my attempt at this answer. Obviously, not all answers and questions are born equal in the UPSC. Some answers will be great, some not that great. But through this today, I taught you how to think, and that is what is more important, because you will be able to answer any question that way. So learn how to think. That is very, very important. All right.